This is not a kettlebell workout, this is a kettlebell challenge. I have 4 exercises for you for a total of 60 minutes of work. Non-stop, back to back. This is what we call a marathon. But before we get started, I have a gift for you. 30 days filled with kettlebell workouts for free. Check the first link in the description. Grüezi miteinander, Gregory von Lebe hier. It goes without saying, this kettlebell workout is reserved for advanced folks only. 60 minutes of work means that your skill has to be on par. You have to understand these exercises to a T. Make sure that before you even do this workout, a couple of days prior, that you have enough rest. A marathon is a tough thing to do, but I believe that you can do it. If you're just starting out, you can set yourself a challenge and say, until the end of this year, I want to be able to manage this powerful marathon without setting the kettlebell down for the next 60 minutes as soon as you pick the kettlebell up off the floor. When it comes to the weight recommendation, I recommend you choose a lighter weight than the one that you're normally using. We have 4 exercises for 15 minutes each. This equals 60 minutes of work. And like I mentioned, as soon as you pick the kettlebell off the ground, you don't want it to touch the floor for the next 60 minutes. Let's jump into the exercises. The first exercise is the snatch. 15 minutes with only one arm switch. This means 7.5 minutes with the left side and 7.5 minutes with the right side. The snatch works like this, that I pull the kettlebell between my legs, then I hip thrust the weight up, then the kettlebell goes over my shoulder, I fixate the kettlebell overhead, it's called top fixation, then I drop it again, it's called the amortization phase, I turn my thumb back, this is called the backhand, and then I reconnect the arm with my body. This is what it looks like. Now here's a couple of things you need to know in order to power through these 15 minutes. We want to use as much efficiency as possible. This means the hand insertion, when the kettlebell is overhead, I insert my full wrist and part of my forearm inside the window in order to not burn out my forearm. The next thing you need to know is when I have the kettlebell overhead in that position, this is the only rest that you'll have. So go slow. Another thing that you have to have is some solid shoulder isometric strength in order to use this position as a rest position. And as I drop it into the backswing, I want to use the so-called double bent knee technique to use the kinetic energy from the kettlebell and my stretch reflex from my posterior chain to bring the kettlebell back up instead of using too much muscle energy. So watch what this looks like. The final thing that is important about the snatch is I use my upper body as lever mechanics. So I lean back a little bit, unlocking the elbow, and then I let gravity do its thing. Powering through a 50-minute snatch with one arm switch is a tough thing to do, requires hours and hours and hours of practice, but if you're patient, you will get there. Exercise number 2 is the clean and jerk for 15 minutes. Again, 7.5 minutes with the left side, 7.5 minutes with the right side. Or should we rather say, depending on your imbalances with the dark side and with the light side. Jokes aside, let's focus on the clean and jerk. So I pull the kettlebell between my legs. Now I used a similar hip thrust maneuver from the snatch to bring the kettlebell up, but I don't bring it overhead. I just bring it on my hip and into the so-called rack position. The same happens with the hand insertion, inserting my full wrist and part of my forearm inside the kettlebell window. Now I rack it. The rack position is important. I want to make sure that I can rest here for a second. Then I dip, I bump, kettlebell goes up, and as soon as I extend my full arm and fixate my shoulder, boom, I go into the so-called second dip. I dip my weight under the bell, and then I finish the exercise by standing up straight, top fixation. And as I bring the kettlebell back down, I think it's like water. I go down into the rack and then immediately down into the backswing. This is what it looks like. And now again, we need some isometric shoulder strength because this is where we have one possibility to rest. But we also have to understand the rack position right here, where I make sure that the elbow makes contact with the iliac crest of my hip, because this is the second position where I can rest. Exercise number 3 is the hand-to-hand swing for 15 minutes straight. Shoulder width stance, kettlebells right in front of me. I bring it between my legs and then I hip thrust the weight up. And then I switch hands. And I wait until the arm makes contact with my body. A power tip that you can use here is that you use the so-called double bend knee in your swinging technique in order to profit from more efficiency. This is what it looks like. Recycling as much kinetic energy from the kettlebell, as well as using the stretch reflex from your muscles, is key to powering through the hand-to-hand swing. And exercise number 4, the final exercise, is a jerk for 15 minutes. Again, 7.5 minutes with the left and 7.5 minutes with the right side. Now we do the same movement pattern that we did in a clean and jerk, but the clean is now gone and we only stick to the jerk. So once I have the kettlebell in the rack position, this is what it looks like. The same power tips that we used in the clean and jerk are applicable here in the jerk only. As you power through these exercises, always tell your body that everything is okay. Don't make strange grimaces or like this. Keep that ice cold killer assassin's gambler's poker face, because this is gonna tell your body that it's all good, even though your brain is sending you all the signals that you probably just want to die. So here's the next thing that you have to do. Like the video, consider subscribing, share this video with a friend, and then you want to do the marathon right now? This is the follow along workout that we did. 60 minutes of work. It's a little bit older. That's why I'm saying we have to do it again. And I have to use a heavier weight most definitely. But hey, you want to do it right now? Check it out right now and think about it. It's going to be a challenge. So take your time, be patient, and you'll end up just like we did.